Amen. And that's what they needed. They needed to be able to. God basically was telling everybody where all of their stuff was gonna go, what was gonna happen concerning them, and concerning the concerning what He had given them. What He was giving, the offering for the priest and the Levites, and also what the Levites, of course, were the ones that worked in the tent, and the Israelites gave. It's like the tithes that they gave. Everybody was supposed to give unto the Lord, and so Aaron and his sons and family got the holiest offering, which was that which was given unto the Lord. Like if they had like a calf or something like that that they was burning for a sin offering or a grain offering, those fellowship offering, they were to take the part that wasn't used and they were to cook it and eat it. Keep that part for their families. Also, the everybody, all of the first fruit, even from the Levites and the Israelites, they're supposed to give that unto Aaron and his family. Now the tithes were the all to the that was work work they did the work to be for them. They got that to give of that to Aaron's sons. Um, that Aaron and his because because of and, and that which have you would not you uh, 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 have to um, have your share among the people. And so I'm going to go through my notes because we thing was going off and on. And right now I'm YouTube. This is YouTube live. And so it should be showing both YouTube on YouTube and on Facebook. I don't know where it's showing right now. So this is the way to keep the ball rolling. Of course, this for those of you that are just tuning in, I'm Dr. Donna Cee, and we're in Numbers chapter 18. And so starting, we've done the reading, and now we're doing the review. And so this is so we can, I'm giving this announcement so that when the people who were on Facebook Live and it fell through several times, that they'll be able to see it here on YouTube. All right. So Numbers 18, we talked about the duties of the priest and the Levites. And it says that the priests were responsible for the offenses connected to the priesthood. Anything that was going on, any laws that they broke, they were responsible for it. And to let you know that is, he was saying it then, but it was always that way because of Aaron's sons who had placed strange fire there. They were in trouble and they were killed. God, burned them up, rained down fire and burned them up, consumed them. The fire consumed them because they put forth strange fire. As a matter of fact, they did something in a time that they were not supposed to do it. They were just had a spirit of error, just doing anything. And so, and it wasn't an excellence because they knew they had done this 100 times before. What made them go and start acting like that now? And so, and they were consumed, and these were priests, and priests are responsible for the duties of priests, right? So then there was it says they were responsible for the care of the sanctuary and the altar. He says, so my wrath will not fall on the Israelites again. So in the sanctuary, in the most holy of holies, and in the inner courts, is where the priest were responsible for that part. And so we saw in chapter, I believe it was 16 or 17, where the people were getting ready when God had struck them with a plague, and it was because Aaron ran out and got in between them that the people stopped falling dead. I said, so God, He holds our us as ministers and our responsibilities. He holds them in high regard, because he went and okay, this is the time when they had to have that lantern, or what they call the censer, and they burned coals in it and they burned incense in it, and it was holy before the Lord. And this is something that the priest had to do in order for a part of their what they did to redeem the people before the Lord in their sin. And so that's what the case was concerning this. He was redeeming the people, and that's what he had done when he stood between them, and after lighting it, and God respected and took into consideration the place of that he had given Moses and Aaron, and stopped, and it was able to stop the plague. Everybody don't have the power just like they think they do. Everybody, they feel like they can preach better than the pastor. They feel like they can do works and, all this kind of stuff better than the pastor. But the pastor was the one that was appointed to cover the people and do certain things. So you can't overstep your bounds and start doing things. It's just like parents and children, and everybody has their prospective place, and we need to stay in those places. And and that's when we'll begin to do what we need to do with excellence. Okay. And he said, okay, so then I'm gonna tell you those were the duties of the priests. Now the duties of the Levites, it says, also he said the priests and their families were responsible for the offenses connected to the sanctuary. He not only said the priests, but he said, and their families are responsible. So for what happens in that sanctuary. The Levites were to perform all the duties of the tent, and then they were responsible to the priest to assist them while they ministered. Okay. They must not go near the furnishings of the sanctuary or the altar. So they were to assist them. They were assisting them by putting up the tents. You remember when the cloud would lift and the cloud would settle. Okay, when God settled the cloud, when the cloud settled, that means they were supposed to set up camp. Well, the Levites were the one who set up camp. That's the part that they played in assistance with the priests doing what they needed to do. The priests were not to go and be building up these things. They were supposed to just take care of the most holy part, which is praying for the people and giving atonement on behalf of the people to keep them safe and free to receive from the Lord. Okay, it says the Levites were also responsible for any offenses that they committed against it, which they committed against the tent on the works that they were supposed to do. Okay, and then I told you that the offense was a breach of law or rule, an illegal act, wrongdoing, sin. That's what a breach is. Okay, it says offerings for priests and Levites. It says the Lord put Aaron in charge of the offerings presented to him. In verse 9, it says, you are to have the part of the most holy offerings that is kept from the fire, whether grain or sin or guilt offerings. That part belongs to you and your sons. It says, eat it as something holy. So you must regard it as holy. And so a lot of times people take people's tithes and money that they giving and gain with blood, sweat, and tears. And what do? They don't have any regards for. They just keep asking for more and more and more. And can you give? And can you do this and that? But they don't take in consideration how people had to sweat and what they had to do in order to gain the money. And so you must realize that in them giving it to the Lord, that this is their hope in the Lord. And so you are to, when they eat that food, he told them, take in consideration what's being done, by the people. And when those people gave, that would make them, it would open up their hearts even more to the people as well as the people were giving. And I'm not talking about in a way where we're talking about, where legalism can start, where people are actually, paying to get things their way. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about in regard to, them blessing the Lord and doing what they need to do for God. And that should make you want to move forward more so on their behalf. And so, that's basically what I'm saying. It says, realize the blood, sweat, and tears of what people have done to get the money, and don't take it lightly. It says respect the offerings that people give. It says everyone in the household ceremonially clean may eat. Okay, so remember when she was reading and says everybody that was ceremonially clean could eat the offering. Well, that goes back to and that's in verse 11, but it goes back to talking about when the Lord had actually, when I guess ceremonially clean, just like the Lord's Supper, that these people had to make sure their hearts and minds were right before the Lord, before partaking, that they had that at that time, it wasn't about your heart as much as it was about other things that were going on with you. You could be considered ceremonially unclean women when they were on their cycles, menstrual cycles, when you had any kind of sores and things, leakages off your body. A lot of times in the Old Testament, what it was that would cause you to be unclean, or those things that were on the outside of you. Things were physical. Everything was done, physically. But in the New Testament, everything is done where it's considered spiritually and from the heart. He said in the New Testament, it talks about it's not what goes into a man that defiles him, but what comes out of a man. Because he says, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. And so whatever comes out of your mouth is what's really in your heart. It'll tell on the strongholds that you face and have on the inside of you. That's what will defile somebody. And so, in essence, we want to get our hearts clean. We want to give our lives to God so that we will, so we don't make those mistakes. And then he said, put his word in our heart that we might not sin against him. So that's a big thing. So we need to, but in this day and hour, for us to be clean, we have to make sure that our minds and our hearts are right and lined up with God, and that we don't have in our minds that we're going to go sin after we do this act and we're not in the right place, and we're not doing things that we know that we're in wrong standing in our lives at that point. And so that's why it says, don't partake of the Lord's Supper. He said many sleep. There's a lot of people dead because they have done taken this holy thing, which is the Lord's Supper, lightly. And so it said, it's like disregard for it. Oh, well, give me no crackers, give me the juice, and you're just going to eat it. But it's not necessarily just that. It's not that it's just representative of his body broken and the blood that was shed on the cross for us to as a redemption for our sins. But it was that we're to do it until he returns in remembrance of him. And so it's a holy thing. It's as holy an act as it was when they did offerings for them a long time ago on the altars. Verse 20, it says, you will have no inheritance in the land, nor will you have any share among them. So he was talking to the Levites. They weren't going to have an inheritance in the land. Because God says, I am your share. I and your inheritance. That's what he told them. And so a share is a part or portion of a larger amount that is divided among a number of people, or to which a number of people contributed. So it's the thing that they have share in, you're not going to have share in that. And then the inheritance, he said that they wouldn't have even an inheritance among the people as well. He said an inheritance is a thing that is inherited, legacy. It's a legacy, a bequest, an endowment. When people do an endowment, it's like, or bestowal, and the other word for it is provision. So your provision will never be in what those people in what people can provide. Your provision will never be in what people can provide for you. I will always be the one to provide for you. Okay, so those it's a succession too. Anything that is given, that inheritance is something where somebody has succeeded and the thing was given to that person that succeeded the other people that own part of this as well. It was, how people get an inheritance from their family. Their family had, wealth, and because those people died off, the wealth came to them. They inherited something. God was saying to them that He is their share. He is their inheritance, and that's what He was saying to the priest. And being so that they're not looking to the people. And so many times that I've tried to say, let people know that it's not necessarily what people give to you, or it's not the people. It's not necessarily what people bring and give that should be the motor behind you, or the motive behind you moving forward and doing what you need to do concerning them. It is your love for God, your love for God, and your love and the yes that you gave Him, the strong yes that you gave Him to perform what He asked you to do. And your love also should be for people as well. And so it's not them that we're looking for them to provide for us. And I'm not talking about just then, I'm talking about now. And that's part of the problem. That's what this word is going to come forward at the end, that people really need to see and really need to know. Let's see. It says, I give to the Levites all the tithes in Israel as the inheritance in return for the work they do while serving at the tent of meeting. Now God says, all the tithes, and that's what the Israelites present as an offering to the Lord. So an offering is just anything above your tithes. They may the tithes here was different than the tithes here was different than the offerings made for the guilt offering, the sin offering. These were specific things to make the people holy. That was given unto the priest. Now the tithe, the offering that the Levites brought in, that was divided among